Do you experience short term or long term memory loss? Do you misplace things occasionally? Do you forget the concepts and terms immediately after class? There is no concept of a good or bad memory. There is a trained memory or an untrained memory. This tutorial today will help you build the famous Sherlock Holmes Memory Palace, a technique that will help you store important information and access it anytime. With the help of this technique, you will train your brain to be more organized and accessible with information. Hello, my name is Dr. Prerna Kohli. I am a clinical psychologist and the founder of MindTribe. At MindTribe, we provide affordable counseling, support groups, communities, workshops, and e learning for mental health. Forgetting is standard in one's life. However, we remember our best or worst life trajectories unintentionally. This is because a sense of emotion is associated with those memories. Therefore, to make something more memorable, we must have the desire to build an association between memories and objects. There are three major pillars of memory: association, location, and imagination. The memory palace technique is primarily an actor, which can be yourself or an imaginary character. Now you transform information into images and place them in a location that you're quite familiar with. This technique builds the desire to memorize less spirited objectives like numbers, the content of a book, mechanisms, a grocery list, or where you kept your wallet. Let's begin with the benefits of Mind Palace technique. This technique is also known as the method of loci, which means the method of location. And this is being used since the ancient Greek civilization. The benefits of the Mind Palace technique are that it improves retention efficiency and is a long term skill to build. This technique will allow you to learn new languages. If you are a student of science, it will help you retain scientific terms, mechanisms, and build topics upon its predecessors. For example, a broad topic like respiration and everything related to it can be sequenced along a path encoding information, which will allow you to step back and survey vast topics. An organizational approach will provide a framework for adding new information that you might learn later down the road about respiration. Now, how to practice Mind Palace technique? The first step is to find a quiet place. This is your time to relax and let your brain muscles exercise. Do not rush through this process. Take your time to build your palace. Seat yourself in a comfortable spot like a couch, a corner of your room, or your bed. Make sure the light in the chosen place is dark, but not too dark. This will help you form a clear image of the features of your memory palace. Relax your muscles. Take a deep breath in and breath out. Focus on navigating the air to your brain. Now gradually move your focus to a location that is familiar to you and easy to recreate in your mind. It could be your house, a library, or your grandparents' house. Anything you desire. Now imagine yourself standing at that location. Walk inside. Visualize the location in detail, focusing on every part of it, every feature that you can recreate. Take your time to rebuild your palace from memory. Analyze systematically by looking in a standard direction from left to right. Now determine a consistent route in your memory palace. Walk back and forth along the route. Visualize it in your mind as clearly as possible. Paying attention to the obvious features of your location. What is the first room after you enter? What features catch your attention? It can be a painting on the wall, a coffee table, your bed, or your lockers in school. Work on this by practicing space repetition, and after every few days, recall your palace and the route. Engrave this place in your mind. Each of these features will later become your memory slots, where you will store a specific piece of information, and these slots should have a permanent location. Take mental notes on the features, repeating them aloud. Rehearse the itinerary to memorize the route. Your memory palace is now ready to be filled with important information that you want to fill it with. The narrative is the key to long-term learning, like medicine and almost anything. Link your objects in more meaningful ways. Let's assume that you need to remember the following grocery list: apples, oranges, toothpaste, rice, butter, and coffee. Now enter your memory palace. Associate famous people with your location and object. I want my location to be India Gate, which reminds me of rice on my list. As I walk past the gate, I see Newton sitting under a tree and eating apple. Immediately, my attention moves to Baba Ramdev in his orange uniform and a yoga posture. Finally, around some bushes, I see Tiger Shroff brushing his teeth because I find his smile very fascinating. When I want to remember the list, I will picture this story. Throughout the association, you must interact image A with image B. The images do not have to be that clear, as long as you have a thorough narrative with an association between the loci, that is the location, and the images. Go over the story 2 to 3 times. At the end of your journey, turn around and walk back to your starting point in the opposite direction. As you practice this technique, keep some tips in mind. Tip number 1: keep it simple. Start with one location, which could be your bedroom, your classroom, or your favorite park. Tip number 2: less is more. This means that you do not want white spaces in your location. Allow your memory palace to breathe. Do not crowd your place. Focus on large features in your location and let the objects be placed spatially. Tip number 3: link your palaces. Connect your palaces like a journey. Create a path. Each palace should be 5 steps away from each other. Tip number 4. Add complexity to the journey. Although we want to keep it simple, gradually move from your bedroom to your entire house. Walk to school, your classroom, and so on. However, before you expand, you have to be good with one memory palace. Do not overcomplicate things. Tip number 6. Have short and long term projects. To practice this technique, have a short project like memorizing a handful of cards from the deck. For long term retention, practice learning the anatomy of the human body or work on a language. Tip number 7. Keep a memory journal. Have a record of what you're doing and how you're doing it. It will help you proceed where you are going. You see your memory palace on the page, and strategizing this will save the mistakes. Tip number 8. Lastly, do not use the same palace for new topics. You must use the same palace if there are subtopics to your main topic. If you are studying lung pathology, everything related to that can be placed in one palace. And all the images should be associated with each other to build a connection for retaining the content. Our brain is a powerful machine that we can upgrade. Forgetting is one of the most prevalent outcomes of not training our brain. We forget because we focus on understanding and not remembering. Our rusty brain makes us feel hazy, forgetful, and inattentive to our surroundings. Therefore, trying to remember simple things like a grocery list can speed up the rusty mechanism. You must be patient to learn how to build a memory palace. It will gradually improve with practice. If you will feel overwhelmed with all this information, just start with one item from the list, like building and memorizing your first palace and later working on association and narration. Develop one skill at a time. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. This is Dr. Prerna Kohli, and I thank you for listening and following our tutorial. Take care.